Welcome back,
This is a good time to
comrades.
remind everybody that health insurance companies don't care about you.
Yep, they
Health
don't care.
insurance companies don't care about you.
And
Correct.
so I do think we're going to have to, as a country, think about whether it makes sense to tie insurance to employment and think or consider whether there's a better alternative.
What does he mean by
Yep.
insurance? Insurance is healthcare. Bull crap, guys. You understand? Insurance is sick care.
Misconception number 2 that we're going to talk about, my work-life insurance is enough. Here is the harsh truth about that. The little policy your job gives you, it usually just one time your salary. Why that is a problem, if you leave or get fired, it's gone.
Yeah.
One time your salary won't take care of your family long term. And companies can change or even cancel that plan at any given time.
Back in the olden days, you knew when it was a commercial, you knew the difference between entertainment and sponsored messages, but now with social media, it's much harder to tell the difference.
Welcome to NutriRebel Red Pill Edition, trying to make integrative ideas great again. And dealing with healthcare and employer-sponsored healthcare or life insurance, they don't. When the guy said they don't care about you, that's correct. But this is some of the typical advice. This is the advice my father gave me. He says like something along the lines of the left there. Son, my life advice for you is to get a good job and get health insurance from them. Wow. He didn't tell me that they make it sound like a parent-child relationship. And then, wow, thanks for that great advice, Dad, Father. Will my boss take care of me? And no, they are not going to take care of you. They're going to drive you to the ground. The bottom right there, Jim. If you work hard for 40 years, I'll buy another Ferrari next year.
I don't really have a plan. Every time I get sick, I get,
Yeah.
if it can't be fixed with like Advil, NyQuil,
Yeah.
and a good night's sleep, I don't really have a solution for it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do if I got very ill or very injured.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't been to a doctor since my 11th grade physical.
Mainstream medicine can be really beneficial for
Yeah.
bone break or
Yeah.
an artery that needs
Yeah,
surgery.
exactly.
But when it comes to anything of a chronic nature, is definitely where it falls short.
There's no shortcuts, guys. If you live an ancestrally consistent, evolutionarily consistent life, if you eat the most sought after foods, your body will thrive and you will not need supplements.
These are the types of celebrity influencers, like those people on the left. They think that they're going to do things naturally, take care of their health themselves. Well, how do they measure things? How do they measure all the foundational elements of their body? And do they know how to interpret these things? Most people don't. And bottom right there, celebrity influencers, and they end up in the spot with the woman here, the previous woman that we saw. You're just waiting for a disaster to happen.
Take supplements.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
The food industry has a really long history of using their funding to make it less obvious that they're the ones giving you the message. Back in the olden days, you knew when it was a commercial, you knew the difference between entertainment and sponsored messages, but now with social media, it's much harder to tell the difference.
Yeah, and you get these celebrity influencers. Bottom right, Dr. Saladino pushing carnivore diet, generalization instead of individualized approaches.
Oh, yeah. Probably the biggest question that we get is, does my insurance cover that?
Yep.
Will my insurance cover it?
And these are chiropractors that they're part of the reason what kept me confused, because I would just keep going back to the chiropractor just for a so-called adjustment. He would talk about nutrition, but he didn't offer any kind of individualized service. And even if it did, I thought nutrition just meant like Twinkies and steaks or some healthy salad. I said, no, that's not what it is. You might need to take way more of specific things like vitamin C. You might need to take multiples, hundreds or thousands of times more. Sometimes, often, maybe you might be able to get it what you need by the
My
mouth.
insurance going to pay? What am I going to pay after insurance? Why don't you take insurance? Had somebody say, if you took insurance, you would see a lot more people. Yeah, but I wouldn't be able to help more people. Just because I can see more people doesn't mean I can help more people.
Yeah.
You understand? Well, what does it mean by insurance? Insurance is healthcare. Bull crap, guys. You understand? Insurance is sick care.
Yeah.
You understand? Healthcare is sick care. Doctor is disease management care. They just want to take care of whatever disease you have. How can I shut this patient up as quickly as possible so that they can move on and we get them the drugs that they need and they can wait and come back when they need more?
Yeah.
Insurance companies are there to make money, and they make a lot of money. And it's because of how the system's set up. Guys, your insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies, and the medical world, they all work together for one primary goal, to make money.
Yeah.
Not to be healthy.
No, to get you well.
No, guys, we're the sickest country in the world by far. The sickest country. But yet, we're mandated to get all these insurances.
Each person is an individual, and each treatment should be individualized.
Yeah, and we don't get that from a conventional medicine. It's like a drive-through medicine, 10-minute office visit. Drive-through medicine.
as the basis of functional medicine, which I started doing in 2008.
And I didn't know what functional medicine meant. My mother had a doctor like that. An extreme few here in Canada that allowed to call themselves that, but I didn't know what that meant. Anyway, do they test at the medical doctor's office? Do they test all these things like I do, like a functional medical practitioner would, or functional nutritionist like me would? No, they don't. Medical doctors don't. They're not trained in this, and they can't do. This takes too long in a 10-minute office visit.
I tell my patients, if they ask me, and I often I say to them, why don't you ask me how dangerous this is?
Yeah.
They say, okay, how dangerous is it? And I'll say, well, you're going to live longer. Is that going to be a problem for you?
Some people might
don't
find that a problem.
That's the reason that I'm going to ask this question. Why should we measure key nutrient groups? Well, if we look at the research, people who have macular degeneration, for one thing, they might have low lutein. They could also have low zinc. You know, actually, some of the eye doctors in town and around the country, they're the ones that are really getting on the bandwagon as far as using nutrients to prevent the manifestation of these chronic diseases. Heart disease, low CoQ10, high CRP. These are pretty well established cofactors. You know, you can look at some of the other ones like if you are low in vitamin D, you're at higher risk for heart disease. So these are not the only ones, but these are a couple of nutrients that do portend or increase your risk of manifesting congestive heart failure or vascular disease of your heart. We know that people that are pre-diabetic tend to be low in magnesium, and they tend to consume too much sugar. Or they may have low chromium levels, for instance. Cancer patients aren't getting enough of the colorful phytonutrients and antioxidants. That's why the American Cancer Society says eat your fruits and vegetables. Osteoporosis, we know it's related to low vitamin D and inadequate calcium absorption. If you are low in tryptophan, you're going to be a little bit more prone to endogenous depression. Carpal tunnel syndrome is associated with low vitamin B6. And if you have a high cholesterol and a low HDL, that can be associated with low vitamin B3 levels.
And therefore, there you go. The key takeaways here are that if you're going, many people try do-it-yourself health, and what do they end up doing? They follow guys like this, very generalized information, and or they try specific herbs, singular herbs, without addressing the whole body, and they end up becoming victims of celebrity influencers, without checking the individualized status of your body. Like here. And that's a good way to keep, even if you don't have health insurance from work, I teach people how to do these types of things. As part of an individualized assessment, I show you what I do, and you can choose to learn more if you wish. So you don't have to keep coming back to me, because a lot of these chiropractors, a lot of these modalities that claim to be alternative health, they just want you to keep going back, and that's their base training. They're not really trained. They might talk about nutrition, but they don't talk about orthomolecular nutrition, and there's a big difference. But anyway, if you like what I'm doing here, like and subscribe, and check out my bottom left symptom measure tool.